Hello and welcome everyone to Creative Campfire. We are so glad to have you in this space, which is meant to be a fun and informal and inspiring conversation with New Hampshire artists. I am Amanda Whitworth, the current State Artist Laureate, and I am joined by Ginny Lupi, the Executive Director of New Hampshire State Council on the Arts, and I'll kick it over to her.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. We're really looking forward to this conversation with our artists. And please put any questions that you might have in the chat. We will put some biographical information of our artists in the chat as well so that you can get to know them a little bit better that way. And I'm going to hand it back now to Amanda.
Great. So first I want to send my gratitude out to Ginny and her support team at the council for giving me the space to have this partnership and be in conversation. This is our last creative campfire of this particular series, and it's filled my cup. So it's been so wonderful to be in conversation. So thank you for your partnership and support. Today I am joined by three extraordinary artists here. And rather than run off their biographies, I am going to ask each of them a series of questions to get us oriented to who they are and where they come from. So Pedro, I'm going to start with you.
Yes.
Awesome. So what is your full name?
My full name is a little bit tricky. It's a Portuguese name. So it's Pedro. My middle name is Henrique. And I have two last names, Flor Pimentel. But I just go by Pedro Pimentel. I think it looks better on screen.
Nice. Awesome. And where are you coming from in New Hampshire today?
I'm right in the capital, right in Concord, downtown.
Nice. And what discipline or form does your art take?
I work on filmmaking and photography as well. A lot of analog photography.
Nice.
And a little bit of writing.
Incredible. What's your favorite food? My
favorite food? Oh boy. It's probably going to be Japanese food. Anything Japanese, I'll take it.
So in Concord, so you've been to Moritomo's in Concord then?
Yes, I've pretty much been to every single Japanese restaurant in Concord.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I might do it once or twice a
week. Yes, no shame. That's good. That's really good. Tell me about a artist who inspires you.
An artist who inspires me. One of them who really does and have been doing for a while, more in a personal level rather than in an artistic way, is definitely going to be John Lennon. And I've loved John Lennon since like before high school. And, cool. You know, the way he does his works, the way he approaches things with his work, especially his solo career, just inspires me to keep on working on something and to put meaning into everything that I do. So he's always been a big, big focus.
Excellent. And what's a recent project you're working on that's filled your cup?
So the latest projects that I've done, which was a couple years ago, the last one that I finalized at least, because I worked on another project that's still in the works. It was The Second Life. It was a short film, about 35 minutes short film that I adapted from Portuguese to English, and I filmed all throughout New Hampshire. It's a period film. It's a period short film that takes place in New England. It's about a guy who wanted to start a new life with a lot more experience, so he would know everything that was going to happen to him, and that kind of worked against him in a way. So it's from the guy in the life after narrating the whole tale. Cool. And told from his perspective.
Very cool. What's on your bucket list?
my bucket list, travel around the world and take a lot of pictures of different countries.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Pedro.
Thank you.
Amy, all right, let's unmute.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, I hear you. Hi. Yay. Okay, wait, you're muted again. Let's see. Try it.
She's unmuted now. Now
Okay.
she's, Amy, I think you're good to go now.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, amazing. Technology, here we are. So Amy, what is your full name?
My full name is Amy Lynn Peters.
Excellent. And where are you in New Hampshire?
I'm in Lancaster, New Hampshire, way up beyond the White Mountains. And it was rather chilly this morning, whole 41.
I know, you've got to cover the plants in your garden if you've got them.
Cover them up still. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. What kind of art do you make?
I'm a jewelry artist, and I mainly focus in custom work by using the technique of the lost wax art. So I predominantly carve and sculpt my pieces out, as well as sometimes I paint.
And your jewelry making has a name, right? A business name.
Yes, it's Aim Star.
Good, we have to get that in there. Aim Star Jewelry. Yeah, awesome. What's on your bucket list?
Oh, definitely need to make a trip to Thailand. Gotta
Excellent. Go. Excellent. And Amy, what's your favorite color?
Oh, indigo blue.
You were quick. That's good. Some people are.
I put pencils a lot, and that particular pencil that's the color.
That's the one. That's awesome. Tell me about a recent piece or project you've been working on that has filled your cup.
Well, it's been a journey through COVID, from starting with making healing jewelry that led into making just recently remembrance pieces for people who have either passed on or a pet that's passed on. So I made just recently a thumbprint for a father who had unexpectedly passed away. And I took it and carved it from a little piece of wax like this, the individual lines, to make that thumbprint for his children. And that led into a couple more projects of the same kind of thing. And I've got to tell you, there is just nothing quite as meaningful for me is being able to make something so significantly special for somebody else. It takes on a whole magic of its own. My hands feel like they're guided by something else. And this beautiful piece turns out that somebody can carry the loved one that you've lost around with them forever.
Wow, that's incredible. Tell me about an artist who inspires you.
The artist that inspires me is Susan Mitchell. She's a painter from Raymond, Maine. She does happen to be my sister-in-law. And I am so grateful to have her and learn from her. She's extremely experimental. She has no fear. She has a tremendous amount of confidence that I admire greatly and wish that I could sort of absorb a little bit of that, you know? And she has a way of carving your white canvas, but carving her image out with paints. She's fascinating to me.
If people were to visit Lancaster, what should they see or do?
Well, first they should stop off at one of the coolest galleries. It's the W.M. Rue Gallery, Lancaster, and it's inside of an old bank building. So the parts of the gallery are in the vault, and they're in the original little counter spaces there and everything. We've got a great new restaurant called Smoke and Teas. And of course, we have all of the beauty of the White Mountains all the way around us. No matter where you go, you're going to hit a beautiful river or a hiking trail. Lancaster is a pretty magical place.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yay. Catherine, I'm going to come to you. So, Catherine, tell us your full name.
My full name is Catherine Fiona Stewart.
Love it. And where are you in New Hampshire right now?
I'm in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, in the seacoast.
Excellent. And what kind of art do you make?
I'm a writer and a director and a deviser, and I work in theatre, film, and dance. Kind of, I guess the word is multidisciplinary, but yeah.
Yes, you are a huge collaborator, which is really cool. Tell me about an artist who inspires you.
This is really tricky for me because there's so many I want to say. But if I really had to pick one, it would be Joel Willa Jo Zolar, who is the founder of Urban Bushwomen. That company, through her leadership, really exemplifies participatory arts for me, a place where everybody can be an artist, can participate in making art, and helping communities have really challenging conversations. Yeah, she's a really inspiring mover and creator and instigator.
Yeah, she's good trouble. That's what she does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you a coffee or a tea person?
Oh, absolutely a tea person, of course.
Yeah. I'm like, I know this. I'm a coffee person, but awesome. Tell me about a recent project that is filling your cup.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one I want to talk about is I'm currently doing an MFA in creative writing at Goddard College, a low residency, and my creative thesis, my play, is about the past, present, and future of American healthcare, and it kind of expands and explodes all that we know about what it means to have healthcare, and what is kind of filling. The reason it's filling my cup right now is that I don't know what the destination is. The joy of being able to study at Goddard is that I have 2 years to write a play, which is a gift. I usually write much faster. I usually have a very clear plan of where I'm kind of going. And this is really really slow and steady and allows for a different kind of exploration, and that is really informing how I may write in the future as well. So even though it's a immensely challenging, complex issue, I get very excited to get back to the desk every day.
What is your turn up song?
Oh, so tricky. I think it's probably Come Together by the Beatles.
Yes. Love. That's awesome. Thanks so much, Catherine. We appreciate it. Yay. And Jeremy, you joined us, so I'm going to put you on the spot. If you are around and available, turn on your screen and unmute. So Jeremy, I want to know your full legal name.
It's Jeremy Richard O'Neill, and just take like all the vowels and throw them into O'Neill, and sometimes a Y, and we say we stole them from the Welsh, and that's why they have to use Y's, and we have all the vowels. Yeah.
There you go.
That's right.
Awesome. And where are you in New Hampshire right now?
So my studio's in Goffstown, New Hampshire. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we used to live on the other side of Goffstown, but now we live near the airport in Manchester, and it's just, I found a landlady who doesn't realize the value of her property and doesn't care about money. So
you are here, right? Amazing,
right?
Amazing. What's your turn up song?
Gosh, so I pretty much I don't really have a song. I have genres. I'm not really a favorites person. I've got like favorite things I like to listen to. And if I just want to be like really upbeat and stuff like that, I listen to Disney stuff. All right,
Yeah.
you know, so that's all good. Or I'm a big pop punk fan. So,
Nice.
you know, anything from like, you know, Green Day or Teenage Bottle Rockets or the Lillingtons and stuff like that. So, yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Love it. Um, tell me about what you make. What form does your art take? A couple things I know.
Yeah. So I make stuff, you know, and so that's what I always tell people is that, you know, I'm an artist. But the great thing is I get to live, you know, because I make stuff and people love stuff, you know, like everybody's like naturally a dragon and they're hoarders and they just want more stuff and more stuff all the time. So all my sculptures, which is generally my forte, are, you know, things like this, all these masks. These are actually high-end silicone masks, just like you'd see in a Hollywood movie. So you put it on someone and the mouth moves and the face moves and it doesn't take any makeup or anything. And so we sell these all around the world to give people that field for collectors and stuff. But then, you know, kind of like the side thing to that is that I really love to create fantasy and bring it into a reality. So that's why I make these. I'm making monsters, you know, that now people can be a monster. But I also love making things for like for cosplay, or so we do a lot of like Harry Potter events. We actually rent the castle in Worcester. It used to be the Higgins Armory because it's the Great Hall of Higgins, you know, Harry Potter. And so then all the things that I make are like mandrakes or pixies or things like that. But they're that size, and I want to try to make them look real, so that when you're, you know, you're buying stuff that makes you feel like you're part of that world. And so that's, to me, that's my art, right? Is that creating this immersive environment, you know, this alternate reality that people get to be in, and you know, make it so that people don't have to use their imagination if they don't want to.
Cool. Do you drink? I was going to say, do you drink coffee? But I feel like that's not a good question. You don't need coffee, Jeremy. Here you are.
Yeah, you know, yeah. So like caffeine doesn't really affect me a whole heck of a lot, surprisingly enough. This is just, you know, me on people. But yeah, like coffee in the morning, and you know, as long as it doesn't taste like coffee, as long as it's kind of, you know, like light and sweet. I kind of want this melted ice cream, and then yeah, and then in the evening, sometimes tea when I'm feeling all sorts of refined and stuff like that, and especially when my dad come over, so I'm like, oh, I'll have some English breakfast tea at 11 o'clock at night while I do some stuff. Yeah,
that's awesome. Me on people. Someone needs to write a book, and that's the title. That's really good. That's so good. Tell me about an artist that inspires you.
So I am a huge fan of history. You know, that was my minor, and I did a lot of stuff, you know, with like medieval reenactments. I've traveled all around the world doing stuff like that. So I always look at like the Renaissance masters, and while I have like a light appreciation for, you know, like modern art and stuff, just having done it and know how hard it is, and you know, and they were able to recreate reality in such beautiful ways that, you know, even with like modern technology and stuff like that, it's still like, you know, Giovanni Strassi with the veiled Madonna and stuff, and you look at that and you go, I know how he did it, I just don't get it. You know, I chalk it up there with like airplanes and cruise ships. I understand how it works, but I don't get it, you know.
Cool.
And so I can look at stuff like that, you know, like wander through the Louvre and go, oh my God, I read all about that, and just stare at it and stare at it and stare at it, you know.
Cool. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad you're all here. So I am going to just pose a question, and feel free, all of you, to unmute as you wish, to engage in the conversation, and feel free to talk with each other too. So obviously we all know that this past year has been different and challenging, beautiful and horrible in different kinds of ways. I'm really curious to understand about a stickiness or a challenge that maybe you haven't come out of totally or finished your product completely, but a stickiness or a messiness or a challenge that you're working through through this past year.
I'll volunteer.
Okay, Pedro.
So, well,
and
basically,
great.
At the end of 2018, I worked on a short film called Somewhere Beyond the River, which happened to be like shortly before the pandemic, you know, and I was working on in post-production through 2019, and I was having some issues with it. You know, it didn't turn out to be the way that I wanted it to be, and I kind of put it on hold, and I was like, I'm gonna go work on it a little bit more, and that extended through early 2020. That's when the pandemic started, and I was hoping that I could get to work on a new project and and something like that, because there is always that urge to create something that if you don't do it, you sit, restlessly at home, and then you're like, oh my God, I need to work on something. And with the pandemic, without being able to work with people, which is my favorite part about filmmaking, it's just you get a whole group of people and you can work together. I couldn't do anything, and I was struggling by not completing this one project. And I was like, oh my God, what am I even doing with my life? I'm not finishing this up. I'm not working on any of this. And now I cannot work with anybody. So it really forced me to work with myself. So I've been exploring my work with the camera. I've been working a lot with the camera, all different kinds of cameras, medium format, 35 millimeters. I just got a super 16 millimeter camera. And because I cannot work with big groups of people right now, it really pushed me to kind of look within and see where I'm good at, where I'm bad at, where I need to improve, what I need to learn. And that was pretty much my challenge for the last year and a half. And I'm kind of loving it because it pushed me to get to know a few things that I really did not know before.
Cool. That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it's been like so many people talk about how the year's been like a intense artistic reckoning. Like you actually have to stop for a second and realize what you yourself want to make or what you want to say. And that kind of work is hard and lifelong and all the things. Amy, I saw that you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, I have to say that when COVID first hit and all of the shutdowns began, I also am an educator at the Littleton Studio School. So I was in the midst of running a 12-week program there. I had a show coming up. I had all these things coming up. And then all of a sudden, life, like the brakes of life got put on, boom. And I have to say, for at least a month, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't create. I just found myself like a dog chasing its tail, coming over to my workbench, kind of sitting here going, what do I do? And then it kind of dawned on me after a while, it's like, hey, no, wait, you have this immense amount of open time. You've got to focus in on something. So fortunately, there was some support from that I was so gratefully blessed with grants, and I was able to upgrade my wax carving tools and really, really focus in and hone in on just the practice of carving wax and different techniques and doing that. So although we're still just coming out of it. It's still economically difficult to be an artist, at least for me right now. But as hard and as terrible as COVID was, I learned an immense amount about myself and about my art during it. So there's a certain amount of gratitude for that time that I was able to just focus.
Interesting.
I would agree about that, about, you know, what I've been hearing from you, Amanda, there, and Amy and Pedro, that sense that this was a moment to focus in on ourselves, but not only just, you know, what do I want to make, or how do I develop my practice from that inward place, but also for me, what are the values of my work that I need to take moving forward. For me, I'm a collaborative artist, I'm a participatory artist. I am often in a role where I'm bringing other people in together to make something. And, you know, as we sit here talking about, you know, the struggles that we may have felt, that we feel as artists financially or in those kinds of ways, I'm like, well, what about my practice perpetuates that? What about my practice perpetuates oppression or racism or any of those things that I don't want to perpetuate moving out of this moment? So the stickiness for me is, I'm desperate to get back in the rehearsal room. I'm desperate to be back in the room making films or theater or dance with people. But I am feeling the stall right in this very moment, thinking like, well, now it's beginning to be safe again, but I don't want to call people, other artists, into the room if I can't support them financially, if I can't support them in a system where we're supported emotionally and psychologically and physically, and that I have our lives supported. So for me, there's the internal, but there's also that external part of the practice that feels really sticky for me. That how do I keep the values that have really come to light in this moment so front and center as we move back to working together? If anyone's got any answers, like, I'm totally all ears.
Yeah, it's like the crazy wicked problem, right? Where you create inroads or small solutions or small bridges, but then it spiders off into other problems, right? So that has been illuminated quite a bit. And I think, you know, I have to say that doing work in New Hampshire is a special kind of process and requires a special kind of engagement and, in many ways, community participation because of our geographic barriers or our demographic barriers. And I'm curious about how you've been communicating your work or communicating your values, which also means how are you selling your product in New Hampshire and beyond in this moment?
I mean, that's where selling stuff becomes so easy. In fact, you know, I've had an opposite problem from a lot of artists because people have been home with nothing to do, and they're not going out and spending money. So they're like, you know what? Maybe I'll buy a troll mask. Sure, why not, right? And so, and our stuff's not cheap. I mean, the silicone, it's all platinum-based silicone. You know, masks start at like $400 and go up. And then, you know, all the stuff that we sell on Etsy, you know, all the little mandrakes and stuff. So last year, it was always, I'll work on my own stuff because I've always got a list of things that I want to make. And then I'm kind of, you know, art hoary in the fact that if a customer's like, hey, can you make this? I'm like, well, yeah, I'll take your money first and I'll put my thing on the shelf and I'll eventually get back to it. But there was never getting back to it. You know, it was just so fast and so furious. And it kept on going so much that, you know, it's like I'm still working on back orders, you know, and the fact that, you know, our delivery time for like a mask went from, you know, 15 business days to 20 business days to 30 business days. And, you know, And so I'm super lucky in that. And I had employees. So when the pandemic hit, we sat and we talked about it, especially when there was the initial, bonus of the $600 a week, which exceeded what I was going to be able to pay them. So I said, hey, take the time, just do and I'm going to lay you off and collect that money, and so that you can have a stockpile, and then we'll reevaluate where we need to be, when that's done. And like half of the business was doing like wholesale orders and traveling around the US doing shows and stuff like that. And that wasn't happening, and we didn't have to do that. And realized that without that big headache, that this could kind of be like a one-man show. I would just always be, treading water, trying to get stuff done, but that's where I'm at right now. Because I'm not secluded in New Hampshire. It's like my stuff's got, is literal. I think we've sent stuff to every country in the world right now. And we're getting more stuff every day. So it's, I'm blessed with abundance, but it hasn't led to a lot of creativity. The only thing that we really had to put on hold was the events that we do. And honestly, that's kind of like a mixed blessing. Because I'm not a money guy, so I never worry about money or I'm concerned about money. We're lucky enough that that's not really something that we're worried about. So I wasn't going, oh, I don't have that income. In fact, we probably ended up making, I think, $80,000 less than in previous years as the business, but there were $80,000 less of expenses, and there was 1,000% more time. Like I had a daughter on Halloween, and I've got two sons, and they're one's 6, one's 2, so it was just extra daddy time, and cool. And I'm like, I'll stay busy at the studio, but I'm going to take this week off because it's school vacation, and my kid was, this is his first year in kindergarten, doing it remote. And now he's in, going actually there. And so it was, it made me reevaluate the company and go, you know what? I don't think we need those shows. I don't need to sell, $300,000 worth of stuff. I've got enough, and I'm going to, just concentrate on that. And then we'll kind of play it by ear, but it really took away that drive to be, uber American salesman. I'm just like, people buy my stuff. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So now
that's really interesting. That's really interesting because in a way, you are creating your work in a sort of a different kind of mechanism than say Catherine, right? Or Pedro.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting.
And people don't look at it as art. They don't understand that there's sculpting involved, that there's painting involved, there's color theory, there's, even just, it's like, how do we make things ugly by making the, disproportionate and things, all the things that you need to know to do like classical sculpture, but it's a mask, and people just go, I want the mask. They don't like, if I was just selling these as sculptures, I probably wouldn't be doing as well,
Interesting.
And so for me, every day I'm getting orders, and I'm just like, Mom, I've got an art degree and people are buying my stuff. It's crazy.
Yay, bravo.
It can happen.
Snaps to that. Let's go. Love that.
And as we go along, there's other projects that I want to do. So, it's like, because I'm always kind of thinking big picture, and I'm like, well, if we make this dragon head, then we can open like a dragon academy that we can have people come and learn about dragons. And then if we're going to have that, then let's talk to authors so we can have youth novels about this thing. And then let's talk some animators and let's do this. So it's always ends up being multi-dimensional as things blossom, just because we let it grow organically. And I just make what I want to do, so I get excited about it.
You got to chat with Merrick Bennett, who was on Campfire last week.
Oh, yeah.
Something cool. Yeah.
Definitely. I'm always looking for collaborators, because I realize like I have a skill set, but there's other, and I always tell my son, like, you can learn anything. There's YouTube will teach you how to do anything you want, but it's better if you can get other people to be passionate about those projects too. You know, and you know, I started off all this making movies, you know, or doing like special effects for movies, and you know, and having to be on set at 4 a.m. and you know, just the grind that big production, like small productions and big productions, you're either working on someone's passion project, and so you know, you're putting in like 18 hours a day for no money, or you're doing someone's big, you know, project where you're putting 18 hours a day for more money.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where eventually I was just like, you know what, this isn't what I want to be. It's cool, you know,
Yeah.
I've met some cool people and done some cool things, but I like working 9 to 5 and having weekends off, and you know, and that works so well with my family and stuff right now. So it's
That's
I do
awesome.
very little art at home now
Yeah.
because you know, I get it all out here.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. How about Amy? Like, how are you walking through the world now in terms of your communication about what you make and the value of the things that you make?
Well, when COVID began and everything began to really push to the online platform, I'm a tech phobe. I have like this really big issue with building websites or, you know, any of it. I lived in a part of the world where there wasn't any internet and there wasn't any cell service for like 15 years. So when I moved back here 5 years ago, it was like, ah. And then with COVID, the push was to get it online, of which I feel I've totally failed miserably. My website is still under construction. So I really had to kind of analyze, okay, if I hate being on the computer and doing sales this way, what am I going to do? So then I began to reach out and search for more storefront, gallery front, and that's my outlet to sell. And from those sales, I gain clients who want custom work, and it just kind of rolls from there. But like Jeremiah was saying, although, you know, I certainly could use to make more money, it's not, I've realized that when I focus on, oh my gosh, I have to make money, so I have to get X amount of pieces done, and I have to, nothing comes out right. I just, that can't be my focus. My focus has to come from the heart into the piece, and then it will find its forever home. So that's, someday when I grow up, maybe I'll learn how to use a computer the right way.
You just need to find someone that already knows how to use it, and then you know, use their skills, and that's, you know,
out there.
Oh. Yeah. This is a PSA. Someone come help Amy. It's awesome. I just want to kick it over to Catherine because I know that you have made some choices about how to propel your work by eliminating certain platforms. Will you talk a little bit about how you're walking through the world and how you're sharing your work right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I left social media. I left Instagram just over a year ago, and Facebook would have been maybe even 5 years ago. Because I think artists, but I think the whole world generally and all individuals are fed this fallacy that social media is the thing that we need in our lives, and I kind of think that's not true. And I think that if the for me, when the negative side effects of social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, kind of began to outweigh any benefits, I was like, there's nothing else in my life where I'll like continue to do this thing that feels bad for my brain, bad for my body, bad for my soul, and definitely bad for my art practice. Because how much do I actually make when I'm thinking about how will I share that on Instagram? So I just gave up on it, because I don't know who makes, I don't know who runs Instagram. I don't know who, and there's no other form of my communication where I let there be a mediator between me and the people I want to talk to. The principles in my practice is that I am in a room with the people that I'm making work with and for and by. And so I needed to start to find other ways to speak directly with my clients, my customers, my audience, my collaborators. And it's like a work in progress, right? A year later, and I'm still figuring that out, and I haven't made the choices, but I've also realized I didn't need to. When I really thought about what work did I get through social media, nothing. What work do I get by sitting down and having conversation like this with other artists? That's where it all comes from. That's where inspiration comes from. That's where work comes from. And so I didn't need it. So I've become a bit of an evangelist for like, you don't need social media, don't learn it, just leave it. Leave it and pick up the phone and give someone a call. I'd rather, call Pedro and be like, hey, you want to go get a coffee and talk about what we might do together? Or Jeremy, anybody here, and I just think, I know that wouldn't work for everybody's practice, but I'm constantly trying to ask myself, what do I do that I think I should do? And then that usually isn't what I should be doing, because there is no should. What would I like to do? What do I need to do? What could I do? Rather than I should, because should is someone else's pressure on us. That's oppression. And I'm trying to live an anti-oppressive, anti-racist life. And so, yeah. So I just left. I just left all forms of communication, and now I sit in my own artist hovel and write away and talk to nobody. No, that's not true.
That is not true. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Through the several conversations we've had, inevitably we're talking about the push for technology and how we market the work that we're doing and how we share that, especially in these moments of isolation. And there's been, I think, Ginny can chime in on this too. There is like a really sort of stark divide between people who are embracing putting their things out as publicly and as broadly as possible with different kinds of tech mechanisms, and people who've gone the other way to think about ways they can build face-to-face relationships, even though that is challenging in the moment. So it's always leaves my own mind with, is there a balance? What are other people doing? Is this mechanism working? Does this have value? Am I hurting someone by doing this or not doing this, right? Am I hurting myself? That's, these are conversations that could be for the next time. We could spend a whole day. So speaking of this balance, right, of sharing and building relationships, Pedro, your work is like at once intimate and public. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So with visual arts, in terms of photography and videography and filmmaking, the internet is growing when it comes for the place to put all of that stuff into a point where not just us, but even big Hollywood studios, they have no other choice than to adapt to it. So what I've been doing is, like, a lot of my work, I've been putting it, because I couldn't just go out and have it, at an exhibit, or it's kind of hard to know what to do with photography, you know what I mean, with filmmaking. So I put it all online, and I actually got involved with a very nice community of film photographers on the internet, which, to my surprise, it is the most positive, the most constructing community I have ever had to deal with on the internet. And it forced me to see a lot of the work that they're doing and try to work on a lot of stuff that is somewhat in that field. It helped me get to know things that I didn't know before, different kinds of work, different kinds of products. And I've been focusing on a lot of that. I've been working on a lot of like landscape photography, which is something that a lot of people love to consume. You know, it's sometimes you see a photograph over here and it has trees, it has a good landscape, but at the same time, I love to try to like portray a certain feeling through these pictures, even though it's just me and the camera and I'm working by myself and I'm going to places that I'm like, I don't even know how to shoot the scene. And it's publishing it online for everyone to see, for everyone to consume, was a good way for me to get feedback on it, for me to get to know other people that are doing the same thing that I do, and hopefully eventually build some connections, in-person connections with the people that first saw my work online. Because as everybody said, like the person-to-person interaction, the in-person kind of working together and kind of feeding off of each other's creativity is the best way to work on anything, because you're dealing with people, you know, and there's an energy in the air that you do not get when you're texting somebody, when you're on the phone with somebody, when you're messaging or emailing something. You have to be face to face with that person. And I think it's something that I can't wait to get to work in situations like that now.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's like Amy said, right? Your heart flows into the process of what you're making. So, you know, our window for this conversation is fleeting. And I want to ask each of you, and Pedro, since you're here on the floor right now, what is your dream project? Like, if you could manifest anything, what is it?
All right, so I have a million dreams in my head that pretty much fluctuate the whole day, and they come and go. But my biggest dream ever is to be able to work on a fictional world, a story world that incorporates world folklore and world music and everything that can bring many different kinds of cultures together into one thing. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to get there, but that's my goal for the next couple decades.
Epic. That's so epic. Jeremy, what's your dream project?
So I always see my end goal, and I never know if I'll be able to achieve my end goal. But for some reason, I want to create an immersive environment theme park. All right. And it's so multidisciplinary of everything that's there, but it is in essence what I'd love to create. And that's kind of, maybe that's, you know, why I like Disney so much, but something similar to that can world build, that people, you know, and you get to involve so many different artists between painters and sculptors and just the story environment. Everything that I do, I love to help other people create memories and experiences, you know, and that's really what the art facilitates, you know. So it's a big dream, and we've got little chunks that we're working on, but you never know what can happen, right?
Right. You never know. You have to put it in the universe. Amy, what's your dream project?
My dream project is to have a big piece of rock, preferably marble, and try my hand at carving and sculpting something out of that. That's on my bucket list of, I've got to try it. I got to just once give it a try. So it's on the list. It's over there. I'll get to it eventually.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Catherine, what's your dream project for today?
Yeah, for today, and I dare to say I have found dreaming very difficult in this last year. But I think it's a project that I've half started. I have a play called At the Table that is about eating together and the food that we come from. And I was able to produce that in 2015, which now sounds a long time ago. But what I'd love to do is remount that and begin to tour that work, because I think now is the perfect moment to be able to sit down with loved ones and strangers over food and safely talk and eat and learn about each other and learn about the worlds that we come from. So, and I just love good food. So I think that's maybe the dream project right now is getting that off the ground. In that same way that Jeremy said earlier about where artists are recreating reality, I kind of want to show the realities we've all been living in, sitting at our own tables, but now just explode that out and say we can once again sit at each other's tables.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So the last question for today is maybe less of a question and more of a shout out to the community in which you live and work. I'm curious, if we were to come to your town or your region, I want to know what you would recommend for people to see, do, eat, watch, experience. So Catherine, since you were just speaking, I'm gonna start with you.
So at each experience, okay, so you would have to walk downtown, go to Commercial Alley in Portsmouth, and go to Elfantine Bakery and pick up a cappuccino and some of their delicious baked goods, and then go walk down to Prescott Park and just watch the river flow and think about who has been nourished by that river for generations, thousands of years, and who is being nourished now, and who do we want to be nourished in the future. I think there's no better art than a river flowing into the sea.
Awesome. Amy, so I know you told us a little bit about Lancaster, but tell us more.
Well, I'd like to, Lancaster, I pretty much told you everything there is to tell because it's a really, really tiny place. But where I work and spend most of my time when I'm not at my bench at home is in Littleton, which is about 20 minutes from here. And Littleton is this beautiful, this little town that's just bursting with art. It's just starting to really take off. It's right on the Ammonoosuc River. There's all kinds of live music and art events. Of course, you've got the Littleton School you could stop in and say hi. The gorgeous studio space, great classes. You could start up the hill at Deep Earth Arts, which is a little oasis of peace and tranquility amongst a lot of really beautiful things. And there's numerous great places to eat there, and depending on what you like, you can't go wrong with stopping in Littleton for sure. Keep your eye out for the arts festivals that are going to be coming up there, because there's all kinds of exciting things that are going to be happening up here in the North Country.
It is. It's awesome. It's so fun. And you should all go to the Polish Princess for some more yummy baked goods. And I guess there.
How could I have done that?
Yeah. Yeah. So Jeremy, talk about Goffstown. What's going on?
Well, we're, the lesser known neighbor to Manchester. Goffstown is that especially if you go into downtown, it's very much like a little Littleton. Like cut Littleton in half, and that's what you have in Goffstown. And so it was really kind of nice. They have the local seasonal events and stuff like that. But honestly, because I've got 3 kids, 6'2" and 0, the only place to really go out, right now is like Chuck E. Cheese. Which I wouldn't necessarily is a big cultural event that people should travel for. Stay with your local one is probably better. But you also got like Mount Unkanunik. It's got a lot of beautiful hiking trails and stuff. And if you get a chance to go into downtown Manchester, go to the Bookery. And it's a wonderful bookstore. Go into the kids area and you'll see a giant 16-foot tree with fiber optics, and we built that. Hand weaving 16,000 fiber optics through netting is not as much fun as it sounds. But it's with bookstores in reality dying left and right, it's a great place to go and to see flourish. So
that's awesome. And they make a mean cappuccino there.
Mm.
And you can also go across the street to Dancing Lion Chocolates. And if you're gonna have a chocolate shop like I am sometime in the future, you should go there. First, I need to learn how to make chocolate, but it's
superfluous.
Yeah, awesome. Pedro, talk to us about Concord.
Yes, so Concord is the best place to come downtown, walk around, look at places, going to local restaurants, and to take a look at Campbell Jenkins State, in the Campbell Jenkins School of Art, which is probably my favorite place in town. They are out there for the arts. They are out there to support all artists, every kind of artist, from performance artists to visual artists, and they actually were very supportive of me when I was working on my last two projects. I filmed two projects at Campbell Jenkins State, The Second Life and The Priest, and they have a lot of events going on. They have a lot of stuff happening to help the community, to work with the community, and they're a really cool team to get involved with if you are an artist in the area.
Yes, and they just put down a dance floor. So it's a beautiful space to be a dancer and go, with a collaboration with Eastern Ballet Institute. And you can go take adult classes there with Kelly Diamond if you want this summer. So yay, KJ, so good, so good. Well, if you happen to pop up to the Lakes region in Ashland, you should definitely check out Witten Woods, which is a local sort of hiking, biking trail. And you should go check out the covered bridge on Little Squam Lake, which is very, very beautiful. And if you love a good museum tour, check out the Museum of the White Mountains at Plymouth State University, which is reopening to the public. And we're also excited about that. So I want to just say thank you for this like effervescent, beautiful conversation. I wish we could continue all day. And I do hope that as the summer rolls on, there'll be an opportunity for us to gather around a real campfire and eat good food and see each other in person and continue the conversations. I'll make sure that everyone has each other's contact. And for those of you who are joining us now live or will watch post production, we'll make sure we have all the information for these artists made available to you, so you can continue to check out their work and pick up the phone and give them a call. Thank you so much for today. I hope you make it a beautiful one and do something that makes you feel whole and kind and artistic. Thanks, y'all. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.